Compliments of the season. Good evening and welcome to Undaunted tonight. Bringing into the news and church stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. In a triumphant conclusion to the three-phase transition fund drive, President Dr. Samuel Mbeseha of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia expressed his deepest gratitude to all participants, acknowledging the invaluable contribution of every individual regardless of the amount donated. The president's heartfelt appreciation was palpable as he commended those and commended those who went above and beyond, recognizing them as the beacon of hope for Ambazonians' future. He also took a moment to address those who might belittle others based on the size of their donation, emphasizing that every contribution, big or small, brings the nation closer to its goal of freedom and self-determination. As the president reflected on the journey so far, he reminded the crowd that the ultimate goal of reaching Buea has not been achieved and that stopping halfway is not an option. The first phase of the Transition Trust Fund drive has already shown promising results, aligning in favor of Ambazonians and giving the people a reason to be excited about their future. The president also acknowledged the efforts of those who have worked tirelessly to strengthen the structures of Ambazonia, paving the way for a brighter tomorrow. The call for unity, love, and continued support was a recurring theme throughout the president's speech, as he urged Ambazonians to regain and remain commitment to their cause and to each other. All these and more we will talk on tonight's Undaunted. But first, the prime headlines. Here are the prime headlines for tonight. The story of the kidnapped students. The body was found in Bamenda. Tonight, we'll take an in-depth analysis of the president's speech from the grand finale of the Transition Fund Drive. Runaway Ambazonian State Defense Fighter joins forces with Colonial Army. Tonight, we'll take a look at the Colonial Buea State Council unlawful orders the detention of the 69-year-old Pamela Tijam. Meanwhile, on the African scene, tragic events unfolded in central Mali on Friday as suspected jihadists launched attacks on 6 villages. Trump says that Elon Musk, despite being an unintelligent person, is not eligible to be president of the United States. That's on the global scene. So let's get the full briefings now. The body of Swiri Erston, a student from the College of Technology, Cotech in Bambili, has been found in a bush area around a Colonial brigade in the Savannah zone of Ambazonia. Swiri's body was discovered on Saturday, almost a week after she went missing, and it appears she had been strangled. Since La Republic de Cameroon declared war against the Federal Republic of Ambazonia in 2016, there has been a rise and call for concern when it comes to safety in the zone. The deceased kidnapping is only a part of this troubling trend in the British Southern Cameroons. Innocent civilians and families have repeatedly falling prey to consequences of the colonial government's violent actions. With insecurities and kidnapping on the rise, students and residents are expressing their fears and the unsafety environment. The colonial authorities claim to have started investigations into her death, yet community members are insisting on effectiveness to curb the rising violence, which Ambazonians have been long suffering from already. This year alone, violence against women in La Republic de Cameroon and Ambazonia has climbed or combined has reached alarming levels as an estimate of 404 women, with Ambazonians rising in the rank. Well, this is where the lady was killed, and Sweetie's case is just one of the numerous we've reported, or one of the numerous unaccounted for. Very sad. Barrister Mbeseha, it's just few days to Christmas. Well, some countries are already in need, and some families will be mourning the loss of their children just because they are Ambazonians. Welcome to tonight's Undaunted. What would you say about that?
Well, I think when the sad reality that Ambazonians are facing an extinction in general, and the girls in particular are a particular focus of all the violence. If you remember, especially university girls, if you remember that in 2016, it started with the girls in the University of Buea. Why are the girls? They are nice targets for the criminals. And as you have said, or if this criminality is going on, generalized insecurity, it is because of the war illegally declared on us. And so if there's a war, there's insecurity. But who is responsible for bringing these people, these perpetrators, to justice? It's the government. The Republic claims to be in control of Ambazonia. And so be it, they are colonial occupiers. It is their responsibility to ensure security of the citizens over which they claim to rule. And so this girl's death is just a reminder that this is one too many. Or what you expect to hear from the government represented in Bamenda, by whoever, is that there will be investigations. They have open investigations. But you don't need to be reminded that anything in Cameroon called investigation is a closed matter. The matter is closed. Because since this crisis started in 2016, how many investigations have been opened? Be in Garib, be it Kwakwa, and all the imagination that you can think. No one has been brought to justice. Be it the Manfred Hospital, the Saint whatever thing in Kuba there, where the guys were killed. Nobody has been brought to justice. And so it is a sharp reminder, especially for those people in Bamenda in general, and in Bambili, where the university is lodged in particular. There is generalized insecurity, sponsored in principle by the government forces. Either they are doing it in themselves, or they are accomplices to it. And so it's their responsibility to bring the people to justice and not bringing it. It is your responsibility to take care of yourself, the girls in particular, because a girl is very, very vulnerable in different ways. They might not just kill you. They have to rape you first, have the pleasure of raping you first. Then after that, they kill you. And so you have to be careful with yourself, especially university students, because they are the younger generation that have the beliefs that is going to take over Amazonia in future. And so they target you deliberately to do all what is unimaginable. And again, my challenge is to the government, to the colonial mayor of Bamenda, Red Tuba, the military commanders in Bamenda, the gendarmes and the police. Let them show that they are in control by bringing these people to justice. The religious authorities in Bamenda, the pastors, the bishops, who have been preaching normalcy all along, who have been telling people to walk out without fear, that this is not a time for you to risk your lives. Take care of yourselves first, and God will help you next. Thank you, and over to you.
All right. Take care of yourself first. Moving on, let's get into Saturday, where Ambazonians gathered for the grand finale of their transition fund drive. Showing a grand finale to the three-phase transition fund drive. President Dr. Samuel Ikemisako of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia expressed his heartfelt gratitude to all participants, regardless of the size of their contribution. He emphasized that there is no donation that is too big or too tiny, because every donation brings Ambazonians closer to the goal of freedom and self-determination. You know, the president also condemned those who go around belittling others based on the amounts they give, stressing that the value and the true value of gifting lies in the heart of the giver, not in the size of the envelope. Let's get that.
To every Ambazonian, every mother, father, son, or daughter, every well-wisher, every government official who works at the center or at the decentralized levels, who participated in all three fundraising exercises, your dedication and consistency are the backbone of our endeavor. Your sacrifices, whether financial, moral, logistical, or spiritual, have demonstrated an unshakable belief in our cause. To those who participated in at least one or more of these drives, we equally recognize and honor your contributions. Whatever the percentage of your commitment, you are better than those who quit on our struggle. Every act of giving, no matter its size or frequency, has surely helped to propel us closer to our shared dream of a free and sovereign Ambazonia.
Well, the president reminded all Ambazonians that the journey is not yet over and that there is no need to stop halfway. In fact, he even says that stopping halfway is never an option. He went ahead to give more accolades to those who go above and beyond contribution. Talked about those who volunteer in diplomatic and the call for the refugees. Of course, he emphasized that the first phase of the transition fund drive has already shown promising results, which is aligning in favor of Ambazonians and giving the people a reason to be excited about the future.
I also want to give a special acknowledgement to those who went above and beyond, contributing not only to these drives that are mentioned, but also to other vital causes, including diplomacy, lawsuits, refugees, internally displaced persons, prisoners, outreach programs, and the ABC. Your efforts have made a difference in countless lives and strengthened our collective mission. You are the hope of a free Ambazonia.
Well, the president also acknowledged the efforts of those who have worked tirelessly to strengthen the structures of Ambazonia, because by so doing, they have paved the way for a brighter tomorrow. The importance of unity and love he stressed on, because love and unity helps achieving goals. He, of course, urged everyone to remain committed to the cause as the Ambazonian community celebrates this milestone. They are reminded that their collective efforts will ultimately lead to the realization of their dreams with a sense of victory and appreciation. The people of Ambazonia look forward to a future filled with promises and possibilities, because that is what the president has promised. And from the people's body language, you will know that they are optimistic about this. Bryce Mbeseha, what would you say about the three phases of the fund drive that has been on so far? I mean, there was the federal stage of drafting and fund drive, there was the county stage, and this other phase. Generally, what can you say about the attitude of giving when it comes to Ambazonians and the cause of freedom?
Well, I think it can be summarized in 2 words what the president said. Our collective mission, we should define it as a mission of devotion, commitment, and resilience. That's what the mission is. It can be summarized in those 3 words. And what did the president mean? I think what the president said all along, the short speech was, there's a line in there for everybody. For those who contributed financially at the level requested, and for those who get beyond that, who played more than the normal role. It was a message for everybody, for those who could not afford all the monies, but provided their widows might. For those who, in addition to that, the devotion took them to doing something else, being active. Being active means a lot. Maybe you're active in calling your senator if you're in the United States, your congressman, in going to somebody to remind them that Ambazonia is facing extinction. That is being active. Maybe you are involved in the diplomatic approach. That's all welcome. And so this is the end of the year. And he calls on all Ambazonians that we are not yet at the end of the journey, but we're getting closer to it. And that will mean, therefore, resilience. You have to be resilient. You have to be persistent. Because this transition draft, the last one, is 2024. We hope by 2025 we'll no longer go for this draft. We'll go for something else. And so I think the message is reassuring. Nobody expected 2024 to be this wonderfully important, but it has been important. We've marked milestones in the struggle, and a struggle like this is not for the chicken-hearted. It's not for you to expect the result the next day, but results are coming, and so you have to be resilient. You have to be committed. You have to be determined. And so I think the president had a good message. Overall, we are summarizing the year. We think and believe the year has been a lot of success. It calls for unity. Because there's no house, especially with us in Africa, there's no polygamous house without disagreements. Children of the same womb disagree. Children of the same family disagree. But at the end of the day, what's important is that the disagreements do not make you cease to be a member of the family. You are a family. The family has to move on for a better future. And so I think the president delivered a good message. I think 2024 has been wonderfully successful, but a lot is still left to be done. And we hope everybody who has done so much this year would continue 2025 with added effort, added resilience, added commitment. And so that's what I took from that statement. That's what I took for the year. And especially that's what I took from the end of the transition draft, 2024. Over to you.
Okay, Barrister Mbeseha, let's try to be a little bit strategic here. There has been different forms and different, ways that the draft has gone since years. Do you think that this 3-phase, where we saw 3 phases of drafting, do you think that it's been more effective than the other method that has been used before now?
Oh, I think it has been very, very effective, more effective than ever before. Remember, until now, we were making drafts. Most of the drafts were promises. People got, I promised 20 million, I promised 1 million, I promised $1, and they never paid. This particular draft for 2024, all the different drafts that we have used 2024, have not been based on promises. They've been based on cash. They don't announce you until you pay the cash. And so it is very, very successful. It is meaningful because when we say we have $1,000, we have $1,000. Something that we're hoping that tomorrow somebody will come and give us. So that can enable us to budget on what we have in hand, rather than budget on promises that we'll get something in the future. I think this is a step forward. Again, people have paid cash, and also we've been assured that unlike the past, where our monies went to the treasury and they were filtered out without our knowledge. Well, we have been assured that the treasury is safe, it is in safe hands. So whatever cash we have raised and will continue to raise, everybody can rest confident that the money is secured. That will do at least, if not everything that we want, it will do part of what we want. And so this year is very, very reassuring. We've changed the strategies, which have been very, very successful, especially when we take cash. I think that is very, very important. Over to you.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha, thank you so much for those diplomatic answers, and I'm sure that those in their strategic departments would also take advantage of this response and do the needful in the coming year. All right, moving on. There is still abuse of power. We have this report where the Colonial Buea State Council unlawfully orders the detention of a 69-year-old Pamela Tijam. Now, there is a case of abuse of power, but then there is also judicial corruption that has emerged in Buea, the chief town of the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Pamela Tijam, who is 69, is under detention by colonial authorities in Buea for over 2 weeks without charge. The report says a family dispute over land led to her detention, plus troubling allegations of bribery involving the colonial judicial authorities. The story holds that Pamela and her younger sister, Irene Tijam, who lives in Germany, are in a property dispute that lies at the heart of the issue. The two sisters received a piece of land from their late mother, Irene, who is financially stable, built a land on part of the land, and recently returned home to claim sole ownership of the property. A decision that Pamela, the elder sibling, refused to give over the land. She moved their mother's tombstone to the entrance of the family compound in a symbolic protest, aiming to block Irene's demand and possibly signal their late mother's displeasure. Irene, angered by Pamela's resistance, allegedly used her financial resources and influence to involve the colonial army, which led to Pamela's abduction and detention. After being bribed by Irene, the colonial authorities collected and dumped Pamela in jail. Well, this is a situation that has ignited outrage from neighbors in the community, many of whom were afraid to be named. Well, they fear Irene could come for them, allegedly. Well, in addition, the detention violates the laws of La Republic du Cameroon that restricts detention without charge to 48 hours for misdemeanors and felonies or 15 days for terrorism. Related offenses as well. They have held for over 2 weeks now. Well, Pamela is facing chronic health conditions that requires daily medication, but she has not been able to access it since her abduction. She faces health issues and requires constant medication, according to reports. It's heartbreaking to know that she hasn't received her treatment since this ordeal began, her brother, Lazari Tijam, said in an interview. Well, allegations of corruption involving the Colonial State Council of Buea and the Colonial Central Prison Administrator further exacerbates the situation. The family initially faced a demand of 200 francs CFA to secure Pamela's release. The family could not afford the amounts, which is what the report says, which is allegedly risen to over 400,000 francs CFA, with her transferred to the pre-trial detention facility at the Buea Central Prison. The family happened to have struggled to raise 50,000 francs CFA for bail, but were told it was insufficient. Pamela remains in the colonial detention as we speak. This is a similar reason why many Ambazonians are in colonial dungeon, charged for crimes they never committed, just that they were unable to satisfy the greed of colonial administrators. At this point, it's a legal issue. Barrister Mbeseha, you would want to throw in a word or two here.
Well, I think the story, if it's true, it's a very pathetic story, and the story of manifest illegalities, manifest fraud, manifest criminality, manifest abuse of power. Let us take the story on the face of it. If there are two sisters quarreling over a piece of land, property, left to them by their mother, just that part of the story Theft is not a criminal offense. It's not a criminal offense. Each of them, maybe, is laying claim to that piece of land left to them by their mother. So if two people are quarreling over a piece of land or some property, everybody, each person laying claim to it, is that a crime? It's certainly not a crime. It's a civil matter which should be taken through the civil procedure. And so if they're in the village, I would guess there's some customary land. I don't know what native they are. The customary court should decide who of them is rightful owner by the tradition of the people, not a crime. But having reported it to the so-called Colonial State Council or police, and they inviting her, they bring in an element of crime. What crime? To the best of my knowledge, there is something in their code they call disturbance of quiet enjoyment when people are quarreling like that over a piece of land. Someone who has built a house there, who put up some plantains, is supposed to be enjoying it. And so it can be charged under disturbance of quiet enjoyment. That's a simple offense. Even when charged there, the criminal procedure, if that story is true, that we all know, they have a criminal procedure code. That woman who is being detained lives in a particular place. They know her. They know the place where she lives, the fence where they are quarreling over. Therefore, she's a person with an identifiable identity. She can be traced to where she lives. And if the story is true again, 69 years old, when she says she's 69, she's about 70. That's an old woman. So she's not a person who would disappear into the thin air. Why then keep her in detention for so long? Beyond the required time, not more than 48 hours. Why then keeping her? You go further, here they're asking for 200,000. Is that the price of the piece of land? For what? It spares corruption. It spares abuse of power. Absolute abuse of power. That state council, if his was ordered it, is going beyond his own authority. He's just wanting money from that woman. They want to give her bail, they're asking for 50,000. For what? And so the story itself is pathetic. And then again, if you go to the fine print of the story, she lives somewhere in Buea, which is being detained in Buea. The complainant lives somewhere in Germany, not even in Cameroon. And so you can see the power that they can wield over the so-called state council with money. The fact that that woman cannot afford 200,000 to pay for nothing in the first place. She doesn't have the money. Doesn't have even the 50,000 to go and pay to get bail. That somebody with a telephone call can make a complaint that will result to her own sister being detained for 2 weeks. Not just a normal sister, somebody who's already sick. The mere fact that she's sick, she has medical conditions, it's enough to tell that she's not one who will disappear into thin air. And so this is what we have come out with. This is where we are today. The state council, 99.99%, is a product of ENAM, the school they call ENAM, School of Magistracy, where they are trained in the majority not to do justice. They are trained to do injustice. They are trained to extort money from the people over which they rule. And so that is the very unfortunate thing. That's what Ambazonian will never go through. That is what we're fighting to get free, get out of it. And so in the normal Ambazonia, a magistrate, a judge, who goes beyond his or her own power that way, will be sanctioned. You might lose your job. You might lose your job. I remember in the 60s, there was a magistrate who went to Mkambi. I was presiding over there, taking cows for bribe. Next 6 months, there was a commission inquiry. He lost his job. He went to prison himself. The judge, the magistrate. He went to prison. And so those are standards we want to set. That is part of our ethics. You don't do things unethical. The detention of that woman is totally unethical. One, it is illegal because it is beyond 48 hours. Two, it is unjustified because it is a civil case. A dispute between sister and man, two sisters over a piece of land left to them by their mother. It's a civil matter. And that's the reason why that judge, whoever signed that detention certificate, should be sanctioned. Should be sanctioned. For so many reasons, I've said, either because he's corrupt, because he or she is so morally bankrupt, or something else. But in summary, he or she is violating the law. It's just violating the law. It's violating the Criminal Procedure Act. That is supposed to guide him even for a crime. And so that's where we find ourselves. That's where she finds herself. We can only hope that she gets out of it. But legally, she's supposed to be out. Morally, she's supposed to be out. And so if there's anything anybody can do to help her get out, we'll get it out. And until Ambazonians learn to take this people, to take the bull by the horns, by suing some of these officials in their personal names, so that they have to be held personally accountable. Because otherwise, once they discover that he's doing something so illegal, the next thing you find is that you will transfer him from Buea to Bamenda, or from Bamenda to Kambe, or from there to Yaoundé, somewhere else. So they lose track of the crime they have committed. And so that's unfortunate for a woman like that. We wish her luck to get out. But you are not bound to pay 200,000 francs bribe, which you don't even have anyway. So that's it. I think those are the facts that we know. Unless there's something different, we think that is illegal, it is unjustified, it is immoral. Over to you.
All right, I think we agree with you, illegal, unjustifiable, and immoral. All right, let's move on to this other report here where a former defense fighter joins forces with the Colonial Army. Well, this particular event, a former Ambazonian soldier of the Momo County has betrayed his compatriots. The runaway traitor has now joined the Colonial Bees, notorious for atrocities, activities in the British Southern Cameroons. While the betrayer, who once fought for the Ambazonian cause, has now shifted his allegiance to the Colonial Bees military force. The individual whose name we got as Prince has got the Ambazonian community wondering what could possibly have been his motive. To many, his loss of focus is detrimental for their shared vision for independence. Well, according to one of his ex-colleagues who goes by the name Technician, Prince left the Ambazonian defense barracks after the loss of their general for Menka, his village in Akwaya. He is reportedly now stationed at Mile 30, a key point along the Mamfe Road. The faithful defense fighters are called up to watch out as Prince is now an imminent danger of La Republic de Cameroon. Well, Barrister Mbeseha, moving from saving his people to the other side, or probably he was never even in saving the people. What would your thought be on this move?
Well, if the story is true, there's nothing new there. We've had so many fighters who decamped to join the enemy. Either they join the enemy as informants or whatever shape they take. We can remember so many of them, a good number of them are supposed to be in the DDRs. But rather than being in the DDRs, doing what they are supposed to be doing officially as DDR, they are being used to go down and hunt their brothers that they left, to show where their brothers and sisters have been hiding. So it's just one of the many. But the good thing about it is there's no way they can hide. Once you leave the forces, if you're no longer in the struggle, and rather than escape to somewhere else where you find safety, you seek shelter in the house of the enemy. You become one of them by trying to help them arrest and kill your own former partners, your own former friends. You are a criminal. And so, good enough, again, there's no way you can hide. We see the picture there. We see this picture. So if you thought that he was hiding, he's not hiding. He has been uncovered. You see in the B adult. It will take some time to train somebody to join the B. They will not even train Amba. I've not seen an Amba guy who resigned and when I was trained in the B. Absolutely no. They can give you that uniform to wear, to use you to go track your own people, but you are not certainly a member of the B. And so it is a good thing that we know them. Their pictures are well known. For the people who are still in the ASAs, no, that's your enemy number one. If you can spare even enemy number 1A, which is like that one should be the first one to be eliminated. Because the criminal is not just escaped, he sought shelter in the enemy's house. He sought pay from the enemy to betray you, to hunt you down, to kill you. And so that's what it is. We know him, see his picture, we know his name. There's no place he can hide again. His own days are numbered. And he's not even, he's sitting by the corner of the road calling himself a B. I doubt if he's a B, but he's in every form of shape, he's a criminal. And so he's just one already among many in the DDR, among many who have left, gone back to the villages, they're hiding there and sneaking to show the B, the road to where your brothers and sisters are hiding. And so they are criminals themselves. They are accomplices in the crimes. They are our number one enemy. They are the enemies like others. If possible, eliminate him because it's a source of danger to you. Over to you.
Thank you so much for being part of Undaunted tonight. And of course, I'm sure that the season will be a jolly good one for you. So we'll leave you here because right after this very short break, we'll have the news across Africa. Well, tragic events unfolded in central Mali on Friday as suspected jihadis launched attacks in 6 villages, leaving many wounded and causing widespread destruction. The attackers targeted grain silos, setting them ablaze and forcing local residents to flee for their safety. This senseless violence has become all too familiar in the region, where Islamist armed groups have been wreaking havoc for years. The situation is further complicated by the presence of ethnic militias, which have been implicated in numerous atrocities, including killings and abductions. The Malian government has struggled to respond effectively to these threats, and the withdrawal of the UN peacekeeping mission in December 2023 has only added to the challenges. But as the people of Mali continues to suffer, it is imperative that the international community takes a notice and provides support to help bring an end to this circle of violence, just like the circle of violence in Ambazonia. But in-depthly, we looked at the issues in Africa, and we must agree that Africa is facing a multitude of challenges, including the devastating impact of climate change with extreme weather events like the droughts, floods, the cyclones affecting many countries, and of course, the continent is also grappling with the consequences of global conflict, such as war in Gaza, which has resulted in thousands of deaths and displacements of people. In addition, Africa is seeking to assert its position on the global stage with the BRICS grouping, which includes South Africa, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, aiming to challenge the dominance of the US-Europe. In terms of economic development, Africa is trying to make strides with countries like Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa driving growth and innovation. The continent is also witnessing significant advancements in technology with companies like Nokia, the Tuxel achieving milestones in quantum self-network security. Furthermore, Africa is becoming a hub for space exploration with countries like Djibouti launching nano satellites and Ghana partnering with India to advance space innovation. However, despite these positive developments, Africa still faces significant challenges, which includes poverty, inequality, and lack of access to basic services like healthcare and education. The continent is also vulnerable to the impact of climate challenge, with many countries struggling to cope with the effect of the climate change and rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and increased frequency of natural disasters. Overall, Africa is a complex and dynamic continent with many opportunities and challenges. As the continent continues to grow and develop, it is likely to play an increasingly important role on the global stage, with its diverse cultures, languages, and perspectives contributing to a more vibrant and interconnected world. We hope for the best for Ambazonia and Africa as a whole. Let's get the news across the globe. Well, the statement made by Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, regarding Elon Musk's eligibility to be president has raised eyebrows. But to clarify, Trump said that Elon Musk, despite being an intelligent person, is not eligible to be president of the United States because he was not born in the country, which is one of the criteria, like now, this is a reference to the natural born citizen clause in Article 2, subsection 1 of the United States Constitution, which states that only a natural born citizen of the United States can be eligible to serve as president. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa, which would indeed make him ineligible to serve as president of the United States under this clause. Trump's statement was likely a response to a speculation of rumors that Musk might be considering a run for the presidency. And Trump was simply pointing out that Musk does not meet the constitutional requirements to hold the office. And so there is no need for people to want him to be scared or want him to be outside. Well, it seems that Trump's comment was a straightforward observation about Elon Musk's eligibility to be president based on the constitutional requirement that the president must be a natural born citizen of the United States. Musk's birth in South Africa would indeed disqualify him from being eligible to serve as president. And Trump was simply stating the fact. But you know, bloggers and the media may have misconstrued that. But moving away from that, ballistic missile from Yemen strikes residential area, 16 civilians injured in the narrow escape. Well, Iran's strategy to keep its loyalist militias under the radar on the international stage is quite intriguing, and it's clear they are trying to avoid being recognized as a state actor. However, the recent ballistic missile attack from Yemen on a residential area in Jaffa is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of their actions. The fact that 16 civilians, both Jews and Arabs, were injured is a tragedy and a miracle that the situation wasn't even more dead. Well, the footage of the aftermath is a sobering reminder of the risks and the uncertainties of living in a region where missile attacks can happen at any moment. It's a complex situation, if you ask me, with many players involved, including the Israeli government, the Iranian regime, and various militia groups, according to recent reports. Israel's large-scale aerial attack on Iranian missile production sites of October 25th has significantly damaged Iran's missile production capability. This could potentially limit their ability to launch future attacks, but it is unclear how this will play out in the long term. The situation in Syria is also worth noting, as the heat-controlled interim government is continuing to signal that it will reform the Syrian security establishment. The Interior Minister, Mohammed Abdul Rahman, has stated that the security establishment needs major reforms, including in the fields of procedures, internal work regulations, and the law. This could potentially have implications for Iran loyalist militias in the region as they face increased pressure to comply with the new government's regulation. But overall, The situation is complex and multifaceted with many different players and interests at stake. It's difficult to predict what will happen next, but one thing is certain: the people of Jaffa and the surrounding areas deserve to live in peace and security without the fear of missile attacks hanging over their heads. Well, and with this report, we've come to the end of tonight Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you about the kidnapped student's decomposing body that was found in Bamenda. We analyzed the president's speech from the grand finale of the Transition Fund. We talked about the runaway Ambazonian state defense fighter who has finally joined with the Colonial army. Talked about that Colonial Buea State Council unlawfully ordering the detention of 69-year-old Pamela Tijam. While on the African scene, we talked about the tragic events unfolding in Mali, where the jihadists has launched attacks on 6 villages. Trump said that Elon Musk, despite being an intelligent person, is not eligible to be president of the United States from the Constitution. That's all from tonight's Undaunted. Bringing to you some top stories on behalf of our in-house analyst, barrister Mbeseha, and all the technical crew putting hands together to achieve these reports tonight is good night and God bless from all of us, and of course, compliments of the season.